everybody. My Dandavat Pranams. So today is the 22nd January 2026 and it's Thursday. So we're going to continue reading our Madhya-lila chapter 5, and it's just the end of this chapter 5 now. We basically finished the pastime of Shakshi Gopal and we're going to speak the conclusion of this. So I begin. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Gurana Varatinokala Samadapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Haripurata Sundarata Dikatambasa Dipita Sadakra Dare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharstameka Purusha Purana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sariradari Kripam Buddhayastamaham Pradadye Yam Prabhajanmana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Matayo Tarabo Benedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptas Chakarmari Tarangamadye Kripa Mayitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Bhajami Radam Aravinda Netram Smarami Radam Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radam Karuna Baradram Tatoma Manastikatina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvayevina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering again my millions of Dandavat Pranams unto our dear most Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams unto our dear most Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat Pranams to everybody. Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Pavanivyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So we had just concluded what we read last Tuesday was the conclusion when a king eventually came to that country, heard the wonderful story of Gopal and how he walked from Vrindavan to honor the vow that the elderly Brahmana had made and to save his life basically from falling from his Brahminical status. And it was described in the end that both of these personalities were his Nitya Siddha Parikas. They were his servants. This is what it's saying in the commentary, that they were actually the servants, the eternal servants. It's saying in the commentary also, you two Brahmins are my eternal servants birth after birth. This is what the Lord informed, Gopal informed these two Brahmanas. So we've just heard a pastime about two eternal servants of the Lord. So this is why this pastime is so powerful and so special. But now we're going to read about the history that happens after that with the Gopal deity. So now we'll come to text 120 today. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Utkalera Raja Purushottam Devanam Se Desha Jini Nila Koriya Sangam. Translation. Later there was a fight and this country was conquered by King Purushottam Dev of Orissa. Text 121. Se Raja Jina Nila Tanra Simhasan Manikya Simhasan Nam Aneka Ratan. Translation. That king was victorious over the king of Vidyanagar and he took possession of his throne the Manikya Singhasan, which was bedecked with many jewels. Text 122. Purushottam Dev se Pada Bhakta Arya Gopal Charana Mage Chale Mora Rajaya. Translation. King Purushottam Dev was a great devotee and was advanced in the civilization of the Aryans. He begged at the lotus feet of Gopal, please come to my kingdom. So King Purushottam Dev is the father of Prataparudra. So this is the history. We're going back beyond Mahaprabhu now, because when Mahaprabhu comes to Jagannath Puri, Purushottam is the king, but it's the father of that king previously. So this is a history that was before Purushottam, before Prataparudra. Text 123. Tanra Bhakti Vashe Gopal Tanra Agnadila Gopala Iya Se Kataka Aila. Translation. When the king begged him to come to his kingdom, Gopal, who was already obliged for his devotional service, accepted his prayer. Thus the king took the Gopal deity and went back to Katak. Text 124. Jagannatha Anidila Manikya Simhasan Katakat Gopala Seva Korila Satapan. Translation. After winning the Manikya throne, King Purushottam Dev took it to Jagannath Puri and presented it to Lord Jagannath. In the meantime, he also established regular worship of the Gopal deity at Katak. This Gopal deity is still there today at Katak. You can still go and have darshan if you're Indian. It's not open for foreigners. Text 125. Tanhara Mahishil Aile Gopala Darshane Bhakta Kori Bahu Alankara Kaile Samparane. Translation. When the Gopal deity was installed at Katak, the queen of Purushottam Dev went to see him and with great devotion presented various kinds of ornaments. Text 126. Tanhara Nashate Bahu Mulya Mukta Hoya Tahadite Icha Hoile Manite Chintaya. Translation. The queen had a very valuable pearl which she wore on her nose, and she wished to give it to Gopal. She then began to think as follows. So the queen wore the pearl on her nose, and she's going to give it to Gopal, which is a little strange. Perhaps she... Anyway, whatever. But generally we don't give things that we've worn or that are second-hand or anything like that to the Lord. So it's interesting. But in this case, I guess the queen must have known what she was. And actually the pujaris and the personalities in Jagannath Puri are very, very strict in their achar, in their behavior, their etiquette, because Lord Jagannath is fully Aishwarya Bhav in Jagannath Puri. So all the rules and regulations are very much kept in order. Although the pandas do float over the top of their rules and regulations, but at the same time, they are very much aware of it. You see the familiarity during Rath Yatra. The pujaris are just hanging off the arms of Lord Jagannath, and there's a very familial relationship with them. But at the same time, they know what is the standard. Although when Bhaktivinoda Thakur went there, and he was made in charge of organizing or reorganizing all the offerings, etc., because there's something like 52, 54 offerings every single day. And they all have to go on at specific times. That's practically every 7 or 8 minutes there has to be an offering. So it requires organization, management, and care. And it was not being really carefully attended to when Bhaktivinoda Thakur took over, so he completely tightened that up. But in this instance, we're seeing that the queen is going to give this valuable pearl, which she wore on her nose, to Gopal. So text 127. Takorera nashate yadi chitra takite tabe e deshi mukta nashaya parita. Translation. If there were a hole in the deity's nose, I could transfer the pearl to him. Text 128. Eta chinta namaskari gela swabhavane Ratri Shesha Gopal Tanre Kahena Swapane. Considering this, the queen offered her obeisances to Gopal and returned to her palace. That night she dreamed that Gopal appeared and began to speak to her as follows. Text 129. Balya kale mata mora nasha chitra kari mukta paranchila bahu yatna kari. Translation. During my childhood, my mother made a hole in my nose and with great endeavor set a pearl there. This is Gopal speaking. Text 130. Se chitra adya pile piha achaya nashtrate se mukta paraha yaha chahiyache dite. Translation. That very hole is still there, and you can use it to set the pearl you desire to give me. How beautiful that Gopal has a mother that made a hole in his nose. This is a deity speaking. So the deity is not just stone or anything of that nature. The deity has mother and father, home, and even his mother made the hole in the deity. Text 139. Swapna deki se rani rajika kahila raja saha mukta lana mandire aila. After dreaming this, the queen explained it to her husband, the king. Both the king and the queen then went to the temple with the pearl. Text 132. Parela mukta nashaya chadra dekina maha mahautsvara kaile anandita hana. Translation. Seeing the hole in the nose of the deity, they set the pearl there and being very pleased held a great festival. Text 133. Se hate gopalera katake ti stiti e lagi shiksha gopal shakshi gopal nama hoile kaiti. Translation. Since then, Gopal has been situated in the city of Katak. He has been known ever since as Shakshi Gopal. Text 134. Nityananda mukhe sune Gopala charita tusta hoile Mahaprabhu swabhakta sahita. Translation. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the narration of Gopal's activities. Both he and his personal devotees became very pleased. Text 135. Gopalera ageya be prabhure hoy stiti bhaktagane dekeyena dunha eka murti. Translation. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting before the Gopal deity, all the devotees saw him and the deity as being the same form. All the devotees saw, I read this again. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting before the Gopal deity, all the devotees saw him and the deity as being of the same form. So the Gopal and Mahaprabhu, the same. Text 136. Dunhe kavarna dunhe prakananda sarir dunha raktambara dunha swabhava gambira. They were both the same complexion, and both had gigantic bodies. Both wore saffron cloth, and both were very grave. Text 137. Mahatejo Maya Dunhe Kamala Nayana Dunhara Bhavesha Dunhe Chandra Vadana. Translation. The devotees saw that both Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gopal were brilliantly effulgent and had eyes like lotuses. They were both absorbed in ecstasy, and both their faces resembled full moons. Text 138. Dunhadeke Nityananda Prabhu Maharange Taratari Kari Hashe Bhakta Gana Sange. Translation. When Nityananda saw the Gopal deity and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that way, he began to exchange remarks with the devotees, all of whom were smiling. Text 139. E Mata Maharanga Seiratri Vanchia Prabhate Chalila Mangala Arati Tekina. Thus, with great pleasure, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed that night in the temple. After seeing the Mangalarati ceremony in the morning, he started on his journey. Text 140. Bhuvaneshwara Pateyache Koilana Vistari Vani Yachena Dasha Vrindavana. Translation. In his book, Caitanya Bhagavat, Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur has very vividly described the places visited by the Lord on the way to Bhuvaneshwara. Purport. In his book, Caitanya Bhagavat, Antyakand, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has very nicely described the Lord's journey en route to Cuttack. On that journey, the Lord visited a place known as Balihasta or Balakachata. He then visited the city of Bhubaneswara, where Lord Shiva's temple is located. The temple of Bhubaneswara is situated about 5 to 6 miles from Balakachati. The temple of Lord Shiva is mentioned in the Skanda Purana, in the narration about the Lord's garden and one mango tree. The king, named Kashish Raj, wanted to fight with Lord Krishna, and consequently he took shelter of Lord Shiva to acquire the power to fight the Lord. Being pleased with his worship, Lord Shiva helped him fight Krishna. Lord Shiva's name is Asutosh, which indicates that he is very easily satisfied when one worships him, regardless of the purpose, and he gives his devotee whatever benediction the devotee wants. Therefore, people are generally very fond of worshipping Lord Shiva. Thus, Kashish Raj was helped by Lord Shiva, but in the fight with Lord Krishna, he was not only defeated but killed. In this way, the weapon known as Pashupati Astra was baffled, and Krishna set fire to the city of Kashi. Later, Lord Shiva became conscious of his mistake in helping Kashish Raj, and he begged Lord Krishna's forgiveness. As a benediction from Lord Krishna, he received a place known as Ekamra Kanan. Later, the kings of the Keshari dynasty established their capital there, and for many hundreds of years they reigned over the state of Orissa. Many hundreds of years. Actually, in this pastime, this is when Lord Shiva, he flees to Harihara Ketra. He comes to Harihara Ketra in Navadvip at that time, which is in the forest of Godrum on the way to Nrsimhapali. And he takes shelter there at that time. And he also establishes his place in Bhubaneswara simultaneously. So both places Lord Shiva goes to. Text 141. Kamalapure ashi parga gandhi snana koile nityananda hate prabhu danda darila. Translation. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu arrived, or make sure that fire is not too close to the, or turn it off, perhaps turn the fire off. Okay. Where are we? Here down the bottom.
141.
Yes. So I read that. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Kamalapur, he took his bath in the Baraginada river and left his sannyas staff in the hands of Lord Nityananda. Purport. In the Caitanya Bhagavat, Antikan, chapter 2, it is said that when Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Bhubaneswara, he visited the temple of Lord Shiva known as Gupta Kashi, the concealed Varanasi. Lord Shiva established this as a place of pilgrimage by bringing water from all holy places and creating the lake known as Bindu Sarovar. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath in this lake, feeling a great regard for Lord Shiva. From the spiritual point of view, people still go to take bath in this lake. Actually, by taking a bath there, one becomes very healthy, even from the material viewpoint. Taking a bath and drinking the water of this lake can cure any disease of the stomach. Regularly bathing certainly cures indigestion. The river Barigi, or Bagi Nadi, came to be known as Danda Banga Nadi, after Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, after Lord Chaitanya bathed in its waters. It is situated 6 miles north of Jagannath Puri. The reason for the change of names is given as follows. So Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami is actually many times relating to the commentaries of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And in their kindness, they're giving these extra details about these various locations, knowing that the devotees will want to pay pilgrimage and visit these places in the future. So they're giving geographical points of how we can visit these places on pilgrimage ourselves. Text 142 and 143. Kopateshvara tekite gela bhakta gana sange eta nityananda prabhu koile danda bange tina kande kori danda doile bhashana bhakta sangha aila prabhu mahesha dekina. Translation. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple of Lord Shiva, known as Kapoteshvara, Nityananda Prabhu, who was keeping his sannyas staff in custody, broke the staff in 3 parts and threw it into the river Barakinandi. Later, this river became known as Danda Banga Nadi. Purport. The mystery of the sannyas Danda staff of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been explained by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the order of sannyas from a Mayavadi sannyasi. The Mayavadi sannyasis generally carry 1 staff, or danda. Taking advantage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's absence, Srila Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff into 3 parts and threw it into the river, later known as Danda Banga Nadi. In the sannyas order, there are 4 divisions: Kutichak, Bahudak, Hangsa, and Paramahansa. Only when the sannyasi remains on the Kutichak or Bahudak platforms can he carry a staff. However, when one is elevated to the state of Hangsa or Paramahamsa, after touring and preaching the Bhakti cult, he must give up the sannyas staff. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is therefore said, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. 2 personalities, Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, are combined in the incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, considering Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an extraordinary person, Lord Nityananda Prabhu did not wait for the Paramahamsa stage. On the Paramahamsa. Therefore, he does not need to carry the sannyas danda. This is the reason Sri Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff into 3 pieces and threw it into the river. So this is clearly described. Text 144. Jaganetar doile deki avista hoile dandavata kori prema nachite lagila. Translation. After seeing the temple of Jagannath from a distant place, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately became ecstatic. After offering obeisances to the temple, he began to dance in the ecstasy of love of God. Purport. The word doila refers to the temple where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated. The present temple of Jagannath Puri was constructed by King Anga Bhima. Historians say this temple must have been constructed at least 2,000 years ago. During the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the small buildings surrounding the original temple had not been constructed, nor was the high platform in front of the temple present during the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's very interesting. Historical details there, we see. Text 145. Bhaktagana avistahana sabe nache gaya prema visha prabhu sange raja marga haya. Translation. All the devotees became ecstatic in the association of Lord Chaitanya, and thus absorbed in love of God, they were dancing and singing while going along the main road. Text 146. Hase kande nache prabhu hunkara garjana tina krosha Parta hoile sahasra yojana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu laughed, cried, danced, and made many ecstatic vibrations and sounds. Although the temple was only 6 miles away, to him the distance seemed thousands of miles. Purport. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy, he considered one moment to last as long as 12 years. After seeing the Jagannath temple from a distant place, the Lord became so ecstatic that he considered the 6-mile path many thousands of miles long. Very beautiful.
So these 12 years are something related to the Praha?
No. No. 12 years.
12 prahars, I mean. I don't know, just...
The yojans.
Yeah.
No. No comparison there. Text 147. Chalite chalite prabhu oila aratan nala tahan ashe prabhu kichu bohiya prakashila. Translation. Thus walking and walking, the Lord eventually arrived at the place known as Aranala. Arriving there, he expressed his external consciousness, speaking to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. At the entrance to Jagannath Puri is a bridge with 18 arches called Ataranala. Ataranala. 18. Atara. Yes, Atara means 18. Ataranala. That's an 18-arch bridge that crosses a Nala. Nala is a river. Text 148. Nityananda kahe prabhu deha more danda, Nityananda bale danda hoile tina kanda. Translation. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had thus regained external consciousness, he asked Lord Nityananda Prabhu, please return my staff. Nityananda Prabhu then replied, it has been broken into 3 parts. Text 149. Just thinking, I've often thought how to break a danda into 3 parts. You can break it into 2, and then if you break it another 2, that comes 4 parts. So actually to break it into 3 parts is not so. How do you break it into 3 parts?
It's tough, but it must have been done in like 1 part and then the leftover into 2 parts.
Right. Okay, yes.
But it's tough to break
into 3, 1, 2, 3. But Nityananda's tough.
Nityananda can do it.
Yes, Nityananda. It has been broken into 3 parts. Text 149. Prema Vesha Pandila Tumi Tomara Darino Tomasaha Se Danda Upara Padino. Nityananda said, when you fell down in ecstasy, I caught you, but both of us together fell on the staff. So, text 150. Dui janara bara danda kanda hoile se kanda kanha paidila kichu na janila. Thus the staff broke under our weight. Where the pieces have gone, I cannot say. Text 151. Mora aparade tomara danda hoile kanda ye uchita hoya mora kara tara danda. It is certainly because of my offense that your staff was broken. Now you can punish me on this account as you think proper. Text 152. Sunikichu Mahaprabhu Duka Prakashila Ishat Kroda Kari Kichu Kahite Lagila. Translation. After hearing the story about how his staff had been broken, the Lord expressed a little sadness and displaying a bit of anger began to speak as follows. Purport. Nityananda Prabhu considered Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's acceptance of sannyas to be useless. He therefore relieved the Lord of the trouble of carrying the staff. Sri Nityananda Prabhu expressed anger because he wanted to... What did I say? Oh, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed anger because he wanted to teach all other sannyasis that they should not give up the staff before attaining the platform of Paramahamsa, seeing that the regulative principles could be slackened by such action. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to carry the staff personally. However, Nityananda broke it. For this reason, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed a little anger. It is said in Bhagavad Gita 3.21, Yadyad acharyati shreshtas tat tat evataro jana. Whatever great people do, others follow. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to follow the Vedic principles strictly in order to save inexperienced neophytes who try to imitate Paramahamsas. So a lesson here for the devotees. Text 153. Actually, today it's not always easy for those who are traveling around the globe to carry a danda. Many times the customs people, they become very disturbed. It's an extra piece of luggage unless you get a long type of a bag to put it into, a surfing bag or something like that. It can be very difficult, especially if you go to New Zealand. In New Zealand, they don't allow anything in there. They want to completely test it and this, and they'll take it off you for perhaps a week and undo the binding and everything and then return it. So it's not.
In our Guru Varga, we say Paramahansa, anyone. I mean, we have seen only sannyasis in our Guru Parampara.
Yes, yes.
They haven't gone to Hansa or Paramhansa.
They're Paramahamsas. In our Guru Varga, there are all four are in our Guru Varga. But as our Guru, they're all Paramahamsa.
But it is saying over here that Hansa and Paramhansa are not carrying.
Don't have to carry the danda. No,
So
we don't see Bhaktivinoda Thakur carrying a danda because he never took that sannyas ashram in that way. He took Babaji Vesh. And Sanatan and Rupa, they didn't, no one took the sannyas Vesh. Huh?
Her question is after Saraswati Prabhupada.
Yes, after Prabhupada, then they took that sannyas danda. And most pictures you will see of our Guru Varga, they are still in their humility carrying their danda, whether they have to carry it or not.
Even though they are Paramhansa.
Yes, they still carry it just to show etiquette.
Okay.
Text 153. Nila chale animora sabe hita koile, sabe danda dana choile tanha na rakile. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you have all benefited me by bringing me to Nilachal. However, my only possession was that one staff, and you have not kept it. Text 154. Tu me shaba age yaha ishvara dakite, kiba ame age yae nar yaba sahite. So all of you should go before or behind me to see Lord Jagannath. I shall not go with you. Mahaprabhu was not happy. Text 155. Mukunda datta kahe Prabhu tumi yahe age, ami saba pache yabe na yabe tomara sange. Mukunda datta told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my Lord, you should go ahead and allow all the others to follow. We shall not go with you. Text 156. Eta sune Prabhu age chalila sirgaragati, bujite na pare kahe dui Prabhur mati. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then began to walk very swiftly before all the other devotees. No one could understand the real purpose of the two lords, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Mahaprabhu wanted to enter Jagannath Puri alone, so this pastime was arranged. Text 157. In hokena danda banga ten hokena bangaya bagana krode tenho ihake doshaya. Translation. The devotees could not understand why Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff, why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu permitted him to do so, or why after permitting him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry. So full of contradictions. Text 158. Danda Madhya-lila 5.122. Se buje dunha vade yanha bhakta dira. Translation: the pastime of the breaking of the staff is very deep. Only one whose devotion is fixed upon the lotus feet of the two lords can understand it. Purport: one who understands Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu in reality can understand their identity as well as the breaking of the staff. All the previous acharyas, being induced to engage themselves fully in the service of the Lord, gave up attachment for material life and thus accepted the staff, which signifies full engagement of the mind, speech, and body in the service of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the regulative principles of the renounced order of life. That is completely clear. However, in the Paramahamsa stage, there is no need to accept a danda, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was certainly in the Paramahamsa stage. Nonetheless, to indicate that everyone should take sannyas at the end of life in order to engage fully in the service of the Lord, even Paramahamsas like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his confidential devotees follow the regulative principles unfailingly. Indeed, that was his purpose. Nityananda Prabhu, who was his eternal servitor, believed that there was no need for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to carry the staff and to declare to the world that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was above all regulations. He broke it into three pieces. The pastime known as Dangamanga-lila is thus explained by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So both of them were correct in their moods. Mahaprabhu was establishing the Maryad, the necessity for the sannyasis to carry their danda, signifying their surrender with mind, body, and speech in the service of the Lord. And Nityananda was expressing his mood as the complete servitor, saying that it was not necessary for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to carry that staff. So in both cases, both of them are completely correct. In fact, this is the way that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is explaining this beautiful pastime. So both personalities, we can't consider either at fault in any way. Text 159. Brahmanya Deva Gopalera Mahima Edanya Nityananda Vakta Yare Shrota Sri Chaitanya. Translation: the glories of Lord Gopal, who is merciful to Brahmanas, are very great. The narration of Shakshi Gopal was spoken by Nityananda Prabhu and heard by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport: there are 4 points of instruction one should consider in the story of Shakshi Gopal. First, the deity Archa Vigraha of Sri Gopal is eternally Satchit Ananda Vigraha, the transcendental form of the Lord. Second, the deity surpasses material regulative principles and extends the reality of transcendental principles. Third, one can be situated in a transcendental position after becoming a Brahmana. But as a Brahmana, one has to follow the regulative principles very strictly. Lastly, Brahmanya Deva indicates that Lord Sri Krishna himself, who is worshipped thus, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha, Jagat Ditaya Krishnaya Govinda Namo Namaha. This indicates that a devotee who is under the protection of Krishna is automatically situated as a Brahman, and such a Brahmana is not illusioned. This is factual. So the Brahmanas are considered to be on a very elevated platform and don't become illusioned about these topics. So this is how Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada explains this in relationship to the deity of Gopal. To understand this, I'm going to read this again just to hear it more clearly. There are 4 points of instruction one should consider in the story of Shakshi Gopal. 4 points. First, the deity Archa Vigraha of Sri Gopal is eternally Satchidananda Vigraha, the transcendental form of the Lord. So this deity walked, talked, revealed in a dream to the queen that he had a hole already in his nose. So there was so much interaction between the devotee and his servants, but we should understand that this is the Supreme Lord who is communicating and talking with his servants. And the second, the deity surpasses material regulative principles and extends the reality of transcendental principles. So the deity has no morality attached to it. So that just like in Krishna's pastimes, there's no morality in Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar's pastimes in Vrindavan, in consideration of him dancing with other men's wives. This is not a consideration for any moral or morality. The Lord is above all transcendental, all material regulative principles. So this should increase our absolute devotion to the Lord, to understand his position, his supreme position. Third, one can be situated in a transcendental position after becoming a Brahmana. But as a Brahmana, one has to follow the regulative principles very strictly. So that seems to be a contradiction. That the Krishna is completely transcendental to any regulative principles. And a Brahmana who is worshipping Krishna, he is aspiring for that transcendental service. But the Brahmana himself has to follow the regulative principles very strictly. This is what I was explaining to one devotee today, that Krishna, he very much loves to hear the sound vibration of his Sanskrit mantras when we're offering the bhoga, that he knows the language of Sanskrit very clearly. And I was explaining how in the Sanskrit language there are 55,000 sounds. And in the English language, for example, there are 350 sounds. So the Sanskrit language is the language of the devas, of the demigods. And Krishna is very happy when he hears those mantras chanted. It's his language. And if someone takes the trouble to remember his mantras, especially if we want to perform our offering of bhoga very nicely, we want to please Krishna. So Krishna's language is Sanskrit. So we chant his beautiful mantras, and Krishna will accept those offerings very easily. He thinks, oh, this is one person who has been trained as a Brahmana, so then he will accept that mantra. So lastly, Brahmanya Deva indicates Lord Sri Krishna himself, who is worshipped thus: Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha, Jagat Ditaya Krishnaya, Govinda Namo Namaha. This indicates that a devotee who is under the protection of Krishna is automatically situated as a Brahman, and such a Brahman is not illusioned. So if one is Sharanagat and carefully worshipping Krishna in the mood of a Brahman, then he is not illusioned about the reality of life. He's no longer under that Mayic illusion. He's under the potency, ultimately, of Yogamaya. So this is the consideration in relationship to the Gopal deity at this time. Krishna's Kaviraj is summing up this in the idea of the breaking of the sannyas danda. So text 160. Shraddha yukta hana iha suneye jana achirye milaya tare gopala charana. Translation: one who hears this narration of Lord Gopal with faith and love very soon attains the lotus feet of Lord Gopal. Text 161. Rupa Raganatha Pade Yare Asha Caitanya Caritamrta Kahi Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps. So this is the end of the 5th chapter of Madhya-lila. Very beautiful, ecstatic pastime, showing the faith of, to understand that when a Nitya-siddha parikar appears in this world, he doesn't know that he's a Nitya-siddha parikar. He's covered by the Yogamaya potency to believe he's in whatever identity and family he's born into. If he knew he was a Nitya-siddha parikar, then how could he perform the regular material activities He could not, with any reality, perform the especially compassionate type of activities that they perform if he knew his eternal identity from birth. So practically speaking, I don't know, of course, what state of consciousness the acharyas had reached at the time of their departures, but they would have, of course, have deepened their attraction to Krishna throughout their lives, and Krishna at some point would have revealed their Nityasiddha identities, so they would have understood that. They would have had their Siddha Swarup naturally, and they would have known their identities, but during their lives previous to that, they would not have understood their Nityasiddha identity. So these two brahmanas, the elder one and the younger one, they were not in awareness of that. They were just dharmic type of brahmanas, and they took that vow in front of Gopal, and with great certainty they called him back, the younger brahmana in particular, to marry the daughter of that elder brahman, which is a really remarkable pastime, in fact. So Krishna's Kaviraj, he's including this pastime within, where's the, oh, I've got, seems to be cold, but it's on heat. Including this pastime to build our faith in the personality of Godhead. It's such a, we just had Madhavendra Puri in the previous pastime, and now we're having Shakshi Gopal. I don't really want to go to the next chapter today, even though we have another 15 minutes in hand, but this is the liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. This is after, when Mahaprabhu reaches Jagannath Puri. I can say something about this chapter, but I won't start to read it yet. But when Mahaprabhu reaches Jagannath Puri, he comes in front of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, and he's so much in ecstasy because he hasn't been to Jagannath Puri before, and he's been in great anticipation of having darshan of Jagannath Dev, who is the Lord of the universe. At the same time, Mahaprabhu is always going to witness Jagannath Dev as being Rajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar, because he's sunk in the mood of Sri Radhika is there. So he's only interested to see Rajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar. So that's who he sees. And when he comes into the darshan of Lord Jagannath, he immediately faints, he immediately passes out. But he's in a young body, remember. He's only 24 years old at this time. A 24-year-old, even though he's so divinely beautiful, large and elegant, etc., doesn't command as much respect externally as an older person would. So the guards, seeing him pass out, think that, oh, he's just perhaps some dramatic performer who, which India has many like this, wants to just perform some dramatic pastime in front of Lord Jagannath. So they rushed at him with their sticks to actually chastise him. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is the Mahant in Puri Dham at that time, in Jagannath Puri, he serves King Prataparudra. He's like the spiritual mentor of Prataparudra, who will always be counseling the king and so on. And he's a Mayavad at this time. He's an impersonalist. We can say a Brahmavad is, I think, a better word, even though he's described as a Mayavad. But he is worshipping the impersonal form of the Lord. It's described he's like Brihaspati manifesting, or he is directly Brihaspati. There's different statements to that effect, that he is like Brihaspati or he is directly Brihaspati. Nevertheless, he's an extremely brilliant, scholarly personality, but he sees everything from the Brahman perspective, which is how most of Bharatvarsh saw the Lord. Just like in Swagaloka, everyone worships the Brahman because Brihaspati himself worships the Brahman. That means the impersonal conception of the Lord, not the Lord in, certainly not the Lord in Vrindavan. That wasn't even manifested fully until Mahaprabhu himself gives his teachings to Rupa Goswami. This was practically not known, not appreciated. Minimal. Some understood that, but very, very few. The principal focus of the sadhaks or the rishis was moksha. Always dharma, artha, karma, moksha are the four purusarthas. The idea, conception of prem, that fifth purusartha, hadn't actually come to even Vyasadeva until he was gifted that samadhi bhasya from Narad, described in the 6th chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when he's expressing his despondency to Narad, his spiritual master. Then Narad, he gives him that sakshat darshan in the beginning of the 7th chapter of the 1st canto. And in that darshan, in that bhasya, in that samadhi, then he sees all the Vrindavan pastimes. Previously, he wasn't aware of those Vrindavan pastimes, or they weren't manifested in his consciousness. Perhaps they were there, obviously, subconsciously, but they hadn't come to the forefront of his consciousness. So he'd written the first 9 cantos, had already been written. But if we study this Srimad Bhagavatam, we see the degree of Krishna focus within the first 9 cantos is nothing like to the extent of when we reach the 10th canto. When we reach the 10th canto, it's Krishna, 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 only Krishna, exclusively Krishna. But in the other cantos, we have Prahlad Charita and Barish Charita, we have Shivji is described, Prithu Maharaj, so many Gajendra, churning of the ocean of milk, all more or less Vishnu orientated. And in the 2nd canto, we have the prayers of Shukadev Goswami, establishing the supremacy of the Lord. But it's not anything like the Leelas. There are no Leelas of Krishna, basically described in the first 9 cantos. It's all the Leelas of great personalities who are described in the 9th canto in particular. There are many Puranic pastimes. There's the pastime of even Lord Ramchandra are there, who is directly, of course, Krishna prior to his manifestation as Brajendranandan Shamsundar. So see the flow and the current within the Bhagavatam and how it completely changes when it comes to the 10th canto. In the 10th canto, it is just the brilliant moon-like smiling face of the Lord in every instance, at least up to about the 35th chapter. And then it shifts across to Dwarka, because there's 90 chapters in the 10th canto, then it comes to Dwarka. But this is still that supreme person. It's not the Brahman. So when Mahaprabhu comes into Jagannath Puri, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is not aware of these truths. So he has interpreted the Vedanta Sutra completely from the impersonal conception. And what we're going to see is Mahaprabhu agreeing, because when the guards come to beat Mahaprabhu, then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is well versed even in the rasa aspect of the Sattvika bhavs, can understand, oh, this young man is exhibiting high states of anubhavs, or high states of even Sattvika bhavs. He's falling down, weeping, etc. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is recognizing this is a very high state of consciousness. And he has faith in this person's, he doesn't think he's a sahajya. This is Krishna's arrangement in his heart. This is the first step that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is demonstrating in his protection and love for the Lord. And from that act of protecting the Lord, everything else will unfold for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in receiving the mercy of the Lord. It's like his first opportunity to actually serve the Lord, and he takes it. And from this opportunity, from this act, he, because he takes Mahaprabhu to his house, which is right next door to the Jagannath temple. We see today, you can go there to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. It's on the other side of the road from the Gambhira. And you can see his very many rooms, etc. It's quite an opulent place, because he's like the Mahant of Puri. So then Mahaprabhu is carried there, and he's practically in a death-like state. They have to put cotton wool under his nose just to see that he's alive. And he's remaining there. And then finally Nityananda, Mukundadatta, etc., Jagannananda, they come into the Jagannath temple, and then they hear about this extraordinary, beautiful sannyasi who has passed out in front of Jagannath and has been taken to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So immediately they all go to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and they see their Lord lying there, and they begin kirtan, which is the way they always bring the Lord back out of his trances, and eventually the Lord comes out of that. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's become particularly fond of the Lord. He realizes even through their family relationships, they have some family connection also. This will be described, because Nilambara Chakravarti, the father of Sachi Devi, is related in some way to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he takes it upon himself to actually educate Mahaprabhu. He sees he's a young sannyasi, beautifully golden, splendid look, and he thinks he needs to have the whole of the Vedanta sutras fully in his heart. So for 7 days he sits in the courtyard of the Jagannath Mandir in front of a huge crowd of people, including all his own followers and bhaktas are in that crowd, and he instructs the Lord in Vedanta Sutra. It's a very powerful submission by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So this next chapter is all about this. And Mahaprabhu listens patiently for 7 days. And then at the end of the 7 days, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, well, you've sat for so long, 7 days, and you haven't said a single word. I don't know whether you're understanding what I'm saying or not. So then Mahaprabhu says, I understand the Vedanta Sutra very well, the Vedanta very well. But the way you have explained it, I don't understand it at all. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya at that time is shocked. No one has ever spoken to him like that before, because Mahaprabhu is speaking to him in an authoritative voice. Mahaprabhu, we know, he's a past scholar from Navadvip. He knows all these truths already. And all his students, they also are shocked. It's almost like an insult to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. After he's given 7 days of his time to speak this truth, Mahaprabhu is saying, actually, I disagree with the way you've spoken it. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he challenges, well, why do you disagree? And then Mahaprabhu begins to explain the distinction between the personal and the impersonal conceptions that, or the impersonal conceptions that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has spoken about, and completely purifies Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's heart. So he becomes realized in the personal conception. He realizes that all his years of study, this must be a shattering experience for someone of high reputation like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, suddenly like reduced to nothing. It's like all his knowledge, everything that he's ever known, it's like death, basically, is being washed away from him as useless, because it's all impersonal. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, by the mercy of the Lord, realizes this. He has that realization, and he becomes completely bewildered. And he goes home, and very early in the morning, Mahaprabhu comes with Jagannath Prasad, a beautiful ball of sweet coconut. And immediately, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he knows the rules and regulations that you should honor Mahaprabhu, honor Prasad immediately. And he sits down with Mahaprabhu, and they start to honor. And Mahaprabhu says, but you haven't even bathed yet, you haven't even washed. What about your regulative principles? You've just left them. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is in complete ecstasy now, because he realizes this is none other than the Lord. Then the Lord, he shows him his Chaturabhuj, his six-armed form. Now, Caitanya Bhagavat says the Chaturabhuj, and Caitanya Caritamrta says Sadbhuj. So 6 or 4-armed. Nevertheless, he's shown darshan of Brajendranandan Shyam-Sundar, and then he's completely the sold-out follower. So Mahaprabhu, in the first few days, he totally conquers Jagannath Puri by this exchange with the Mahant of Jagannath Puri.
So that's why in Radhakund, Jagannath temple, near to that is Shadbhuj Mahaprabhu.
Sadbhuj, yes, 6-armed form. Because this is what's described in Caitanya Caritamrta, But in Chaitanya Bhagavat, it's described Chatubruj, forearm form. So there's some distinction here. So that's the incredible pastime that we're going to enter for the next couple of weeks. And we'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow is a very special day. It's Vasant Panchami. It's the Avirbhav of Raghunath Das Goswami, the Avirbhav also of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. It's the disappearance day of Vishnu Priya. It's also, what else? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's Pundarik Vidyanidhi. It's all these personalities tomorrow in Vasant Panchami. Many, many personalities.
Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami.
Who?
Pundarik Vidyanidhi appearance day.
Yes. Pundarik Vidyanidhi.
Raghunandan Thakur appearance day.
Oh, Raghunandan Thakur appearance day tomorrow.
Srila Raghunath Das Goswami appearance day.
Raghunath Das Goswami.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur disappearance day.
Yes.
Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi appearance day.
Vishnu Priya appearance
Saraswati
day.
Puja.
Saraswati Puja also.
And Vasant Panchami.
And Vasant Panchami. So tomorrow I'll try and compress all of these together so we won't take the whole program with just those personalities, although of course we could take any one of those personalities and just describe them fully. But I'm wanting to continue with this Caitanya Caritamrta reading because this is our principal focus here, is to share with the devotees the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri in the later years of his life, to become familiar with these pastimes, because this is the sum and substance of all our acharyas' desires, is to fulfill the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So tomorrow we'll explain these in a brief way, summarized way, and then we'll continue with the liberation of Sarvabhaumadacharya. That's chapter 6 tomorrow. So Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.